There are many different weapon types in the Splatoon franchise, and while each are creative in their own way, one stands out above the rest in creativity. No, not that. Brellas! Though that is pretty creative. Brellas were first introduced in Splatoon 2 along with the dualies, and one was treated significantly better than the other. There have only been 3 Brella types since Splatoon 2 came out, and there are 5 different dualie types. While that doesn't seem like a big difference, those 2 extras really make the dualie class feel more lively than the Brellas. I should note before this video starts, I am a Tenta Brella main, so while I'm probably biased in this topic, I probably know what I'm talking about, so I shall try my hardest to give us Brella users the justice we deserve. Join me while I talk about the lost potential of Splatoon's Brellas. To begin, I'm going to go over each Brella that's currently in the game, the Splat Brella, the Undercover Brella, and the Tenta Brella, in that order, and talk about the major positives and negatives of each. I'm just going to go over some of the basics, so this won't be a super in-depth analysis of how the codes of these weapons work. I will also be briefly talking about the kits each Brella currently has available. I won't talk about them much, but I feel it's necessary to understand the pros and cons of each Brella. First off, we have the Splat Brella. The Splat Brella is the most basic of all the Brellas. It's like the Splat Charger to Chargers, or the Splatter Shot to the Shooters. The other Brellas mostly stem off of this one and how they work. Out of all the Brellas, the Splat Brella is probably the most reliable in my opinion. It does decent damage and is quite easy to control. Okay, into how it works. Every time you tap the ZR button, the Brella shoots a singular medium-range shot that does a good amount of damage. You can't just hold the button to continue shooting, so you have to continue pressing the ZR button over and over again. Many other weapons do this, so it's not that big of a problem. If you do decide to hold the button though, the canopy part of the Brella opens up in front of you and will block a decent amount of shots before it breaks. This is the main function of the Brellas that make them so unique, and is the sole reason why they are my favorite weapon type in the entire game. This function can save your skin, or, well, ink. If you decide to hold the button for long enough, the canopy will shoot out of the staff of the Brella and put forwards quite a ways before disappearing. This can be a great way to make some distance towards or away from the enemy, but the path is so skinny that you will have to be cautious before you blindly go into harm's way. I never usually follow the path of the Splat Brella because I believe it can be pretty risky and an easy way to get yourself killed, but every once in a while I find it a nice convenience to use. Be careful when you shoot the canopy off of your Brella though, because it takes several seconds for it to recharge. You can still shoot the Brella in this time, but you won't have the backup shield of the canopy to refuge behind if you need it. It usually takes 2 hits to splat somebody with the Splat Brella, and that's actually pretty good considering how fast this thing shoots. You can also deal damage with Brellas by either bumping into enemies with the canopy extended, or by hitting them with the canopy after it's shot off. Either way, it doesn't do much damage, and isn't usually worth doing with the Splat Brella. As of the release of this video, the Splat Brella has 2 different versions, the original Splat Brella and the Splat Brella. The OG Splat Brella has a triple ink strike special and a sprinkler sub-weapon. I feel that this is the most balanced kit any of the Brellas have. It's actually pretty good in my opinion. The Splat Brella has an inkjet special and an auto bomb sub-weapon. Not as good as the normal Splat Brella, but still pretty balanced. And in the end, it's honestly just preference. Don't worry, things get a lot worse from here. Oh boy, where do I begin? The Undercover Brella has a very interesting concept. It's similar to the Splat Brella, but instead of the canopy getting shot off after having it open for a while, it stays on the shaft of the Brella. Unlike the Splat Brella, you don't have to press the ZR button over and over. You can just hold it and it will continue firing while the canopy is open. You get to attack while also being defended. Sounds great, right? Well, no. You see, the Undercover Brella does very low damage. It takes about 3 shots to splat an opponent. While that doesn't sound that bad, the Undercover Brella has a very small spread, so it shoots in a pretty concentrated area. While this sounds like one of those moments where you can just say, well, just get good then. Hold on, because the canopy of the Undercover Brella breaks extremely easily, leaving you defenseless with a pretty underpowered weapon. While I could continue to just talk bad about the weapon, I want to explain some of the ways I would fix the Undercover Brella, because it's easy to just trash talk it. Loads of people do. I think the amount of damage the Undercover Brella does is fine. It's supposed to be weaker than the Splat Brella, so I don't think it should do as much damage as it. I definitely think that the spread of the Undercover Brella should cover a wider range though. You have to be nearly perfect to hit somebody with it, and you have to hit them 3 times to splat them. Almost any weapon can destroy the canopy of the Undercover Brella and kill you before you get 3 good shots off. I also think that the Undercover Brella's canopy should have about twice as much health as it currently does. It gets destroyed way too easily, and once it's gone, it's pretty much game over for you. Before I move on, what changes would you guys make to the Undercover Brella? Let me know in the comments below. The only redeeming trait of the Undercover Brella is the fact that it has Reef Slider as its special. The only times I ever do good with Undercover Brella are the few chances I get to use Reef Slider. It also has Ink Mines as a sub-weapon, which is okay, I guess. Not bad, but not great. There's also the Undercover Brella, which comes with torpedoes as its sub-weapon. And for its special, it comes with a portable seizure causer. Just because the Undercover Brella is pretty weak doesn't mean that it's worthless. I've seen people get 10 plus splats a game using it, though that's probably because they practice 13 hours a day. So, props to anyone that's actually good with Undercover Brella. Ah, the Tenta Brella, one of the most unique weapons in the entire series. This is my main weapon. I know every single up and down on this one, so grab your popcorn, this may take a minute. If I was to describe the Tenta Brella in simple terms, it's the Splat Brella, but bigger and bulkier. The thing that makes this Brella so special is that the canopy on this one is huge. It can easily keep you and your teammates safe from enemies. But let me take a step back. The Tenta Brella goes back to you needing to continuously click the ZR button for every shot you fire. It shoots these massive shots that can easily one-shot an opponent if you are directly aimed at them. This does come with a drawback though. It shoots way slower than the other Brellas, so you need to make your shots count. It also takes a lot of ink per shot, so you definitely want some main ink up on your gear. As I said earlier, once you hold ZR long enough, the canopy comes out and it is massive. The canopy can take a massive beating before being destroyed, so it's perfect to block against enemy attacks, and even some specials. Once it deploys, the canopy will travel a pretty good distance while providing cover, making it a good game changer if all goes right. While it's going, it also leaves a giant path of ink behind, making it actually worth shooting off, unlike the Splat Brella. When the canopy is shot off, it goes at a slower pace than the Splat Brella's canopy, so you can actually keep up with it. This is a good thing because you can actually shoot through the canopy as it's moving to damage and splat your opponents, but they can't do the same to you. This weapon is extremely good if you are communicating with your teammates. If you are struggling in a game of Turf War or Splat Wars, you and your team can make a plan using the protection of the Splat Brella to try and make a push against the enemy team. If you aren't playing with friends, and don't have the benefit of communicating with your teammates, well, that's where the Tenta Brella's problems start to pop up. It's hard to make a push with the Tenta Brella when you're by yourself. Trust me, I know. And if you pull out your canopy when you're by yourself, you can't just block the enemy shot and shoot back like with the Splat Brella. The Tenta Brella just isn't fast enough. You can block the enemy shots, sure, but you can't close your canopy and get a shot off in time to get the enemy. Lots of the time, they'll get you instead. You can just continue blocking, but eventually either your canopy will shoot off or the enemy will break it. And either way, that can be a major problem. The special and sub weapon for the Tenta Brella is arguably the worst out of all 3 Brellas. OG Tenta Brella gets Ink Vac for its special, which isn't horrible, but it's not as good as Triple Ink Strike or Reef Slider. And for its sub weapon, it gets Squid Beacon. Yep. While Squid Beacon isn't bad, it's definitely not the best thing for this version of the Tenta Brella to have. I never think to put beacons down because I'm usually in the front lines fighting the enemies, which usually means I don't want to waste the little ink I have on a Squid Beacon that'll most likely just be destroyed. The alternative isn't much better. Tenta Brella is instead given Ink Mine and Trizuka. Trizuka is actually pretty good, and is better than Ink Vac in my opinion. But the Ink Mine is even worse than Squid Beacon. I wish we were given something different for the Tenta Brella, because that Ink Mine causes me to just still use the original Tenta Brella. All in all, the Tenta Brella is, in my opinion, the second most powerful / reliable Brella out of them all. It still is and will probably forever be my favorite though. It's not impossible to use Tenta Brella solo, but it's definitely a lot harder. Like the Undercover Brella, all you really need is enough practice, and you'll do just fine with it. Now I'll be talking about the biggest problem with Brellas. I would argue that out of all the weapon types in Splatoon, Brellas are the least used. The reason why is because for some reason, about 30 to 40% of the time you try to bring the Brella's canopy out while you're being attacked, it'll come out, but the enemy will still somehow splat you. This happens to me all the time. It's as if the Brellas are a second or two behind what they actually are. Literally, the main point of the Brellas is that they can be used as shields, but a third of the time they just don't work as shields. Imagine if when you use dualies, 30% of the time you try to dodge, they just don't let you. Or if when using rollers, whenever you try to fling it, it just doesn't do any damage. It's crazy how this has been a problem for literal years, and Nintendo has done nothing about it. I don't understand how they just decided to leave them in this state. It's absolutely crazy. Guys, I'm not even kidding. Partway through making this video, Nintendo announced a new Brella type. Let's go, baby! Finally! Since their releases in 2017, we haven't gotten a new Brella type since. Though, maybe I shouldn't be complaining considering how brushes were treated. Though, at least they were powerful enough to use. The new Brella we got is called the Recycled Brella 24 Mark 1. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be good. It looks really good in the trailer, so I have faith. For the longest time, we received no new Brellas, and of course they're one of the last weapon types to receive a new version in Splatoon 3. Though I guess that's because they were one of the weapon types introduced in Splatoon 2 along with the dualies. But I still think it shouldn't have taken over 6 years to get a new one. Nonetheless, I'm still grateful we are finally getting a new Brella. And hey, that looks pretty cool.